The battlefield was a wasteland of fire and broken steel. Smoke rolled across the ground, hiding the shapes of fallen soldiers. Explosions in the distance painted the sky orange, and the sharp smell of burned metal filled the air. Ethan Cole, a human combat medic, moved between shattered vehicles, searching for anyone still alive. He had been deployed as part of an aid mission, but the situation had turned into a full-scale war within hours. Alien factions were tearing into each other with no mercy, and humans had been caught in the crossfire. Ethan's orders were clear: help the wounded, avoid combat, and get out alive. But war never cared about orders. His scanner beeped faintly, picking up a life signal nearby. Ethan moved carefully, stepping over broken armor plates and strange alien weapons. The reading led him past a destroyed gunship and into a shallow crater. That's when he saw it. A massive creature lay on its side, white fur soaked in blood. Its claws were as long as Ethan's forearm, its teeth curved like blades, and its glowing red eyes flickered weakly. It was breathing hard, each inhale sounding like a low growl. Ethan froze, heart pounding. This was no ordinary animal. It was a predator built for battle. Then he saw the crest hanging from a chain around its neck. Black metal edged in gold, shaped like a crown. Ethan recognized it from intelligence briefings. It was the royal seal of the Velthari Empire. That meant this was not just a beast. This was the personal guardian of the Velthari Empress herself. The safe choice was to walk away. His superiors would tell him it wasn't his problem. But leaving it to die didn't sit right with him. Ethan crouched slowly, opening his medkit. "Easy," he said softly, keeping his hands where the creature could see them. The beast's eyes locked on him, unblinking. For a moment, he thought it would lunge. Instead, it let out a long, tired breath. Working quickly, Ethan cleaned the wounds, spraying sealant foam to stop the bleeding. He wrapped the deep cuts and adjusted broken bones. Every movement was careful, deliberate, because he knew one mistake could make the creature see him as a threat. Minutes passed before he realized the battlefield had gone silent. A shadow fell across him, and Ethan looked up. A line of tall figures stood in front of him, armored in black and gold, weapons aimed at his chest. Their faces were hidden behind masks, but their presence was enough to tell him who they served. From between them stepped a woman. She was tall, her silver hair flowing over golden-trimmed armor. Her eyes glowed faintly, sharp and unreadable. Every soldier around her lowered their head in respect. Ethan didn't need to guess. This was the Empress. Her gaze dropped to the beast, then rose to meet his. "You touched him," she said, her voice quiet but filled with authority. "He was dying," Ethan answered. Something in her expression shifted, so quick he almost missed it. She stepped closer, kneeling beside the creature and placing a hand on its head. It gave a low rumble, almost like relief. The Empress stood, her eyes never leaving his. "You have saved what is mine," she said. "And now, you have bound yourself to me." The royal guards closed in around Ethan, their weapons still raised. The Empress gave a small wave of her hand, and the weapons lowered. But no one moved to let him go. "You will come with me," she said. Ethan glanced at the wounded beast. "What about him?" Her eyes sharpened. "He follows me always. And now, it seems, he follows you too." The beast, still weak but breathing more steadily, slowly rose to its feet. It moved beside Ethan as if protecting him. The Empress's expression didn't change, but her eyes seemed to study him more closely. The guards led them across the battlefield, toward a sleek black vessel that shimmered under the pale light. Its surface looked almost alive, rippling with faint patterns. Inside, the air was cool, smelling faintly of metal and something sweet. They walked through curved corridors until they reached a chamber with a wide view of the stars. The Empress stood before the glass, her hands resting behind her back. The Khar'zul. Ethan guessed that was the beast's name, lay down beside her. "You saved my guardian," she said, her voice calm. That is a debt, but my debts are not paid in gold or gifts. They are paid in purpose. Ethan crossed his arms. And what exactly does that mean? Her eyes locked on his. It means you will serve me until I decide the debt is settled. I'm a medic, he said. Not a soldier. You are human, she replied simply. And humans are unpredictable. That makes you useful in ways my armies are not. The ship's engines rumbled beneath their feet. Through the glass, the stars shifted, and the battlefield faded behind them. Ethan realized they were already leaving. The Empress stepped closer. There is a warlord in the Archeon Rift who has taken something of mine. My soldiers can reach his gates, but they cannot pass unseen. You will go where they cannot, and my guardian will go with you. Ethan looked at the massive creature, its red eyes fixed on him. And if I refuse, her tone turned to ice. Then, you will learn that refusing me is worse than any danger in the rift. Ethan didn't answer. He just nodded once, because deep down, he knew there was no way out. The transport ship that would take Ethan to the Archeon Rift was nothing like human vessels. Its black hull seemed to bend the light around it, and its engines made no sound. Inside, the walls pulsed faintly as if the ship itself was alive. Khar'zul stayed close to him. Every time Ethan moved, the creature's red eyes followed. At first it was unnerving, but over the hours he began to see something else in those eyes' awareness. Maybe even understanding. The pilot, a stern, Velthari officer named Saryan, kept her gaze on the controls. You don't belong in the rift, human, she said without looking back. I didn't choose this, Ethan replied. Saryan gave a small, humorless smile. No one chooses the Empress. She chooses you. And she never chooses without reason. Through the viewing screen, the rift came into sight. It was not a normal star system. It looked like space had been wounded, a swirling mass of black storms lit by flashes of violet lightning. Fragments of shattered moons and warships floated in the chaos. Ethan felt a strange pressure in his chest as they entered. The Khar'zul gave a low growl, its muscles tense. Saryan's hands moved over the controls with precision. We land on an asteroid fortress, she said. That's where the warlord hides. When the ship touched down, the air outside was thick and heavy, with a faint metallic taste. As they stepped off the ramp, shapes emerged from the shadows, tall warriors in jagged armor, their faces hidden by dark masks. At their center was the warlord. His armor glowed faint red, lines of energy pulsing like veins. His voice was low and mocking. The Empress sends a human and her pet? How insulting. Ethan didn't answer, but the Khar'zul's growl deepened, claws scraping against the ground. The warlord tilted his head. You've come for what is mine. Let's see if you can take it. The soldiers around him raised their weapons, the air filling with the hum of charged energy. Ethan's pulse quickened. He knew the fight was coming, and there was no turning back. The first soldier moved like a shadow, charging with a jagged spear raised high. The Khar'zul exploded into motion, its massive claws cutting through the attacker before he even touched the ground. Sparks and shards of armor scattered across the dark rock. The rest came fast. Energy bolts lit the air, slicing past Ethan's head. He dropped low behind a broken piece of wall, yanking a small stun charge from his medkit. It wasn't a weapon by design, but with a quick overload, it could knock someone out for a few seconds. The Khar'zul fought like a storm. It smashed one enemy into the ground so hard the stone cracked. Another tried to strike from behind, but the beast spun and tore the weapon from his hands with a single swipe. Its roar echoed across the asteroid, shaking the massed warriors. Warlord didn't join the fight immediately. He stood watching, his glowing red armor getting brighter as the battle went on. Then Ethan noticed, the energy flowing through the armor pulsed in time with each death. It wasn't just armor. It was feeding on the fight. When the warlord finally stepped forward, the ground seemed to tremble. His weapon was a long spear tipped with a burning shard, crackling with power. The Khar'zul lunged, but the warlord moved with deadly precision, slashing across the beast's side. The roar that followed was filled with rage and pain. Ethan didn't think he ran to the beast's side, spraying sealant foam over the wound while keeping one eye on the warlord. The warlord laughed. "The Empress sends a healer to fight me? Foolish." Ethan's eyes locked on the pulsing lights. In the armor, that connection between the spear and the chest plate, if he could break it, maybe they stood a chance. He pulled out his portable defibrillate, overcharging it until the device hummed dangerously. With one quick motion, he hurled it at the warlord's chest. The shock hit, and the red glow in the armor flickered. The Khar'zul saw the opening and pounced. Claws ripped through armor, teeth tore into exposed flesh, and the warlord's scream was drowned out by the beast's roar. The remaining soldiers froze. Some dropped their weapons. Others fled into the shadows of the rift. Ethan stayed beside the Khar'zul, one hand resting on its blood-stained fur. The fight was over. But he knew the Empress had sent him here for more than just victory. The battlefield fell silent except for the Khar'zul's heavy breathing. The warlord's broken spear lay on the ground, its burning shard dimming until it went cold. Ethan's heart was still racing, but he forced himself to keep moving. Sarian stepped down from the transport, her weapon ready. She scanned the shadows before walking toward the warlord's body. "We didn't come here just to kill him," she said. "Search him." Ethan knelt beside the armor, prying open the chest plate where his defib had struck. Inside was a small black case no bigger than his hand. Strange gold patterns covered its surface, shifting slightly as if alive. The moment he touched it, the Khar'zul's ears perked, and it gave a deep, almost protective growl. "What is it?" Ethan asked. Sarian's voice was low. "Something stolen from the Empress. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to know. But it's worth more than every life on this asteroid." They returned to the transport quickly, the rift's storms flashing around them. Ethan kept the case close, its cold weight unsettling in his hands. He couldn't shake the feeling that it was aware of him. As they broke free of the rift, Sarian finally spoke again. "Do you understand now why she sent you?" "Because I'm human?" Ethan guessed. She shook her head. "Because you were the only one who could keep the Khar'zul alive long enough to win this fight. Without him, this mission would have failed." When the flagship came into view, guards were already waiting. One took the black case from Ethan with extreme care, holding it like a sacred relic. Then the Empress herself appeared in the docking bay, her silver hair catching the light. Her gaze moved over Ethan, the Khar'zul, and the case. "You have done more than I expected," she said. "Now you will hear what this truly means." The Empress led Ethan and the Khar'zul through the grand hall of her flagship. The walls shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the starlight beyond the viewing panels. Guards lined the path, standing perfectly still as they passed at the far end. A raised platform held the black case, now inside a shimmering force field. The Empress stopped before it, her gaze steady. "Do you know what you carried through the rift?" Ethan shook his head. "It is the core of Antheris," she said. "An ancient engine that can breathe life into dead worlds or burn living ones to ash. In the wrong hands, it could unmake empires. The warlord sought to sell it. Now it will never leave my control." Ethan glanced at the Khar'zul, who stood beside him like a silent guardian. "And that's why you sent me?" "That is one reason," she replied. Her eyes softened slightly. "The other is that you saw him as more than a weapon. No soldier of mine would have done that, and without him, you would not have returned." He let out a slow breath. "So what happens? Now, are we even?" Her lips curved into a faint smile. "No, my debt remains. But I will not repay it in coin or comfort. I will repay it with power." She stepped closer and fastened a black metal band around his wrist, engraved with the golden royal crest. It glowed faintly as it locked. This mark tells the galaxy that you act under my shadow. Any who harm you will face my wrath, but it also tells them you are mine. Ethan looked at the band, feeling its weight, not in metal, but in what it meant. His life was no longer just his own. The Empress turned toward the viewing panels, her voice carrying across the hall. Come, Ethan Cole. The debt between us is far from settled, and the stars are waiting. The Khar'zul moved to his side, and together they followed her into the unknown.